all as the drumbeat for the release of the Epstein files continues to grow louder and as Republican infighting over the potential disclosure has reached a fever pitch.
People want the information. They don't want things covered up, especially when it comes to the most well-known convicted pedophile in modern day history. It's important to them, and they really want the information out.
And joining me now, a bipartisan duo who is teaming up to force a House vote demanding the release of the Epstein files. Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California. Welcome to Meet the Press to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much for being here. I want to start with a question for both of you. House Speaker Mike Johnson, who will be my next guest, has accused you of being hypocritical for pushing for the release of these files now and not when former President Biden was in office. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Remember, President Biden and his DOJ had these files for 4 years. Neither of those guys said a word about it. Thomas Massie is suggesting that this is some sort of watershed moment. We are all on the same page trying to advance the truth, full truth and transparency. And the idea that he's suddenly so concerned about it is curious to me. He waited until President Trump was elected to bring
Hypocritical?
this. Seems that way to me.
Congressman Khanna, let me start with you first. Why are you pushing for the release of the Epstein files now and not during President Biden's administration?
Well, Speaker Johnson's a friend. We came into Congress together, but I hope he'll join us for transparency. Actually, in 2019, I tweeted out that I was working with Elijah Cummings to have a full investigation of the Epstein situation and the debts associated with it. Then in 2021 and in 2024, the courts started to release Epstein files. Then you had a situation where the president of the United States, President Trump, says, when he's president, we're going to release all the files. And Pam Bondi says that there's a client list. There may not be a client list, but we're going to release all the files. I didn't say anything while giving him the benefit of the doubt in the first few months. What triggered this is Pam Bondi issuing a memo saying there's nothing more to be seen after saying that there was an Epstein file and a list. And that's what triggered this crisis of trust. That's why we need a full disclosure now and why I have teamed up with Representative Massie and 11 other prominent Republicans to demand that.
Well, Congressman Massie, let me turn to you. What say you? Are you being hypocritical by demanding this now and not sooner?
No, not at all. Look, the release of the Epstein files is emblematic of what Trump ran for and why he got the populist vote. There seems to be a class of people beyond the law, beyond the judicial system, that operates outside of all of that. And we all thought that when Trump was elected, he would be the bull in the china shop and that he would break that up and bring transparency. Frankly, it wasn't until just recently that I realized that people who were allegedly working on this weren't sincere in their efforts. And also, politics is the art of the doable. There's enough public pressure right now that we can get 218 votes and force this to a vote on the floor. Somebody should ask Speaker Mike Johnson, why did he recess Congress early so that he didn't have to deal with the Epstein issue? He can bring this to the floor at any point, yet he's chosen to send us home early for August recess.
Well, Congressman Massie, let me delve into this with you. We will get to Johnson in just a moment. The Department of Justice says they will not be releasing further Epstein material in order to protect what they say is more than 1,000 victims, many of whom were underage. I want to read you a little bit of a DOJ memo which writes, quote, sensitive information relating to these victims is intertwined throughout the materials. One of our highest priorities is combating child exploitation and bringing justice to victims. Perpetuating unfounded theories about Epstein serves neither one of those ends. What is your response to the concern that releasing these files could ultimately hurt the victims, Congressman Massie?
Well, look, that's a straw man. Ro and I carefully crafted this legislation so that the victims' names will be redacted and that no child pornography will be released. So they're hiding behind that. We're trying to get justice for the victims and transparency for America. And so, you know, we've redacted things before. We don't want to hurt the victims. We're doing this for the victims. I think it's just something that they're hiding behind. And at the end of that statement, I heard something about conspiracy theories or something like that. Look, they're the ones, it's the president's own attorney general, FBI director, and children who said that, and vice president, who said that these files need to be released. We're just trying to hold their feet to the fire.
Well, Congressman, kind of take another piece of this based on what you are proposing in this legislation. The names of, frankly, anyone who flew on Jeffrey Epstein's planes or visited any of his properties, anyone named in the files who was not a victim will likely be publicly released if these files are released. Is it fair to release files that may never see their day in court, but could be devastating, quite frankly, to the people mentioned in them?
Kristen, it's a fair question, but I want to just focus first on the victims. Bradley Edwards, who's the lawyer for the victims, has demanded a full release of the files, obviously with the victims' names redacted. He said the Justice Department has never cared about the victims, about centering the victims. They gave Jeffrey Epstein the plea deal the first time. They never cared about victims' rights, and no one has asked the victims what they want. They do want these files released for closure and for healing. Now, there's a reason the Justice Department usually doesn't release information before charging people, and I understand the sensitivity of that. But in this case, given that this has created a trust in our very government itself, given people feel that the rich and the powerful have been not held accountable, that they have a different set of rules, and that there may be government officials involved, there possibly could be foreign government involved, business involved, financial fraud involved, the president should say, I ran on this, the Attorney General promised this, we're going to do a clean, full release. And I think the American people are fair. They're going to be able to distinguish between someone who got a grant from Jeffrey Epstein to do cancer research versus rich and powerful men who were abusing underage girls.
Congressman Massie, I do want to go back to the fact that the House was adjourned early. House Speaker Mike Johnson has defended that decision. He says, look, the White House is already pushing for the release of the grand jury materials. Obviously, that's been held up in court. He's accusing you of trying to inflict political pain on your party by criticizing him for adjourning the House early. Is he right? Are you trying to inflict political pain with this criticism?
I don't know why it should be politically painful to be transparent. Is the pain he's talking about that somebody in our party will be embarrassed by those files? Then that's not a good excuse. Is the pain he's talking about is that the legislators, when they vote, have to pick between protecting embarrassment of the rich and powerful versus getting justice for victims? I don't really understand what he means by that. Why is it painful for Mike Johnson to call a vote on this? And it's, the American people deserve this, regardless of what the political ramifications are for the speaker.
Well, let's talk about Ghislaine Maxwell now. Of course, she sat for 2 days of interviews with DOJ officials. President Trump was asked, does he want to pardon her? He said he hasn't thought about it, but he's allowed to do it. Congressman Massie, first to you, would you support a pardon or commutation of Ghislaine Maxwell?
That would be up to the president. But if she has information that could help us, then I think she should testify. Let's get that out there. And whatever they need to do to compel that testimony, as long as it's truthful, I would be in favor of.
Well, Congressman Khanna, I mean, look at her record. Convicted of sex trafficking of a minor, sex trafficking conspiracy. The list goes on and on. Do you think Ghislaine Maxwell should be pardoned or have a commutation of her sentence, her 20-year sentence?
No, I don't, and I'm concerned that the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, is meeting with her supposedly one-on-one. Look, I agree with Congressman Massie that she should testify, but she's been indicted twice on perjury. This is why we need the files. This is why we need independent evidence. But by the way, the only person who suffered political pain in this whole thing is Congressman Thomas Massie for telling the truth. He's got the president's entire team who got the president reelected coming down on him in his district, and it's just made him stronger.
Well, Congressman Khanna, I have to ask you, politically speaking, the implication for Democrats. There has been a lot of focus by yourself, by other Democrats on this issue of Jeffrey Epstein. Prior to this, you all were talking about the so-called big, beautiful bill, the fact that the CBO had estimated, for example, some 10 million people could be kicked off of their health care. Are you concerned that by focusing on Epstein, you could overshadow Democrats' message on pocketbook issues and hurt your chances in the midterms?
No, I'm not. Look, my core conviction is a new economic patriotism to reindustrialize America, a 21st century Marshall Plan for America, Medicare for all, opposing the Medicaid cuts. But you can't do anything constructive with government if you don't have trust in government. This is about trust in government. When John F. Kennedy was president, trust in government was 60%. Today, it's in the teens. Congressman Johnson and I, Speaker Johnson and I came to Congress together. He was on the reform side, too. He wanted to make government work. This is a perfect opportunity for him to say, look, the past is the past. Okay, I didn't love that he shut down government. Maybe on your show today, he'll commit that when we come back, let's have a vote. Remind him of what we were like, the conversations we had in our freshman class. This is about being a reform agent of transparency.
Very quickly, before I let you both go, first, Congressman Massie, to you, will this pass? Will it come to the floor and pass the House when you return from August recess?
Well, I hope it does because, you know, the question you asked, Ro, this is going to hurt Republicans in the midterms. The voters will be apathetic if we don't hold the rich and powerful accountable. I think when we get back, we can get the signatures required to force this to the floor. Speaker Mike Johnson should do the right thing and just bring it to the floor and not require us to force it. And he'll have a choice once we get those 218 signatures. Is he going to try and change the rules of the House of Representatives midstream or not? If he does, that becomes the vote for the American people.
Congressman Khan, I'm out of time, but yes or no, will it pass?
It will pass.
All right, there you go. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.